How we going, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. I've got a special show today, and I've got not one but two guests. We are welcoming back Dave Martel to the channel, and first time we are speaking with CP Webster. How's it going, guys?
Excellent.
Yeah, great. Thank you for having us on.
So yeah, normally we it's mainly a music channel, but we're talking about books today, but both my guests died in the wall metalers, so I'm sure it'll go into that at some point. But yeah, we're basically going to be talking about books. We've got Dave back on the channel. We've had Dave on before. We've been talking about the Bizarchives. I recently reviewed his book, Grim Earth Shall Burn. I'll just reach over and sorry, Earth Shall Burn. And obviously, with is behind the Bizarchives. We'll be catching up with that series. But CP Webster has also got a well, he's a Bizarchives regular, but he's also released his new book, Weird Tales. Is this on the Bizarchives as well, or is
Yeah, yeah.
this is on the Bizarchives? And yeah, so I thought we'd just have a catch up, talk about each other's books, what we've got going on, and then just see where the conversation goes. So yeah, how we going, guys? Thanks for coming on, both of you.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Bub. I love your channel. Your channel's great. You should have way more subs. So, guys, if you're listening to this, sub to Joe's channel. This channel rules. He does all these deep dives into awesome metal, all kinds of stuff. This guy knows what he's talking about. So, sign up to this dude. We love his channel, and we got to support the heavy metal dads, the fiction dads, the culture dads out there. So, get sub to his channel. But yeah, thank you for having me. I do believe our other episode we did together was on
Nevermore.
Nevermore.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Nevermore, one of my favorite bands. That was a lot of fun. And speaking of heavy metal, I noticed Mr. Webster here is wearing his awesome OG Black Sabbath shirt
That's
with
it.
the was that the Master of
Master
Reality.
Reality. Yeah,
Yup, that's my favorite Sabbath album.
it's
So
it's probably my favorite actually as well. I think.
it might be the best one.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
What was that? It was
I
number.
struggle. It depends what day, but yeah, you can't go wrong with the first six. That's for sure.
That was the third album. That was. I
Yeah,
think that was the third
Yup.
album. Wasn't it? Yeah.
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 But I guess We'll start with Dave. Let's talk about Grim Earth Shall Burn. This is a fantastic piece of work. We Lucius Lex is the main character, and it seems that Dave is yeah, you got your paperback there, and you've you've built this world slowly but surely throughout the Bizarchives with these short stories, and then we've got the first solo outing. Um, what made you take the dive and do a full book? Was it something you said, or was it just something where it came along where you I just can't stop writing. This is gonna be a book. You know, how did it? How did the project sort of come about?
Well, so Grim Earth as a whole has been I guess they call it an IP nowadays, an intellectual property. It sort of started out as I don't know which came first. I have a tabletop game that I created. It's like kind of like, because me and my boys, we got tired of playing D&D, and we didn't really want to go back to second edition because we don't have the old books anymore, and the old books now are cost a fortune because I guess they're collectibles now. So we just wanted to play something that we could just roll the dice and get to playing, right? So I came up with a really simple, easy system and made a bunch of lore around it. And I can't remember if that came first or the character of Lex himself. So, when we started the Bizarchives, I had a character in my head for a long time. Um, he started out as just kind of like a voice in my head, just kind of like a vague character, I guess. I wanted to make something that was sort of like the Conan for us. We talk about heavy metal. A lot of heavy metal we listen to is even throwback stuff. We get into like the doom metal. We get into stoner rock. We get into stuff that's sort of going back to just regular hard rock roots. Well, these bands that are coming out that are doing this, they can't ignore that death metal happened. right? So you will hear elements from death and black metal, extreme metal, kind of woven into their flavor of hard rock. Um, so I wanted to kind of make my Conan, right? Everybody knows that Big Dave is a Howardian disciple, a Lovecraftian disciple. I love these characters. So I wanted to kind of make my guy. And I wanted him to kind of be reflective of our tone in this time. Whereas Conan was very much about the vitalist, masculine, uncaged spirit and indomitable will, and kind of breaking free. And we don't really have that type of feeling anymore. We have our age is a little bit more melancholy. It's a little bit more despondent. It's a little bit more hopeless. A lot of people, we, despite everything in modernity, we feel it's a little bit more bleak nowadays. We don't have that Faustian, like, let's strike out. We don't have the frontiersman vibe in our recent history like Mr. Howard did, right?
Yeah.
We live in an age where pretty much, at least they like to think that everything has been discovered. There's no real big, all of the low-hanging fruit of discoveries of our age are pretty much already plucked. And like, there's not a whole lot further we can go. So that I wanted that to kind of be the vibe. Is you going back to what I was saying about the hard rock? I can't really write a Conan like Conan was, because Warhammer 40K happened, because Grimdark happened, because Elric happened, because a lot of these characters in between already happened. So I was like, okay, so I want what would be a character that guys like me would enjoy? Guys that are grinding and kind of feel like, just feel like the world's crushing them, between taxes, between all the political bad stuff that's going on. Just what kind of character could they read that would bring them the catharsis that Conan brought for his readers in his time? Is pretty much what I kind of set out to do. So I wanted to kind of have like a Conan and Solomon Kane and some like a freaking space marine, and all these kind of guys came together, and like, but my own version of it. So I was like, I started hearing the voice in my head, the Lucius Lex's voice. And he's this guy, he's very self-aware. He's not subversive insofar as he's subversive towards, he's subversive of the subversion, right?
Yeah.
The subversion of traditional classical heroic motifs is the kind of brooding, too self-aware, nihilist hero that doesn't, whatever what we criticize to be the anti-hero. And then before him was the corny apple pie Superman with limitless power, do no wrong, I do guy. And I wanted to kind of make a Nietzschean mythic guy that subverts both of those tropes, which I just really don't like. I think that they're both ham-fisted and modern perversions of what heroism is. So I wanted to make a character that is sort of like how a lot of guys like us feel. It's not fun to get up in the morning and go to this jerk-off job that you hate. It's your duty. It's not fun to do this. It's not fun to be tired. It's not fun to deal with any of this stuff. You just grind it out. And that's what Lex is. He doesn't do it for himself. He is a slave to his duty, and a very proud slave to his duty. And that's what I wanted to do. And on top of it, he is it's very explicitly said that he's mankind's monster in a world where monsters run amok, and people are kind of at the mercy of horror and chaos and all this stuff. Superman, with his perfect pompadour hair and never said a bad word, isn't the guy to fight that. The guy to fight that is somebody that's even more brutal, even more vicious, even more merciless, even more violent, right? It is his face that devils see in their nightmares, right? So that's what I wanted to create, this catharsis monster that acts on our behalf to go out and just slaughter the evil in the most heinous, brutal ways. And that's what I started. I when I first made Lex, he's a little bit silly. I don't want to say silly, but I very purposely made him over the top. He's got funny one-liners. He it's just like, I believe in the first story that I wrote, he saves a girl, and then her brother like flips out about her condition. He punches him in the face and then steals her horse. Right. So it's just like,
and it's just find another horse.
Yeah.
No arguing. No,
no, he's just like, I need a horse to go to my next location. Right. And not that he's doing this because he is a good guy, but he's not a good guy. He's just a guy that does good. So I wrote more stories, and then I was like, to be honest, I was a little bit tired of the character. I had a big vision for him that I wanted to do, but honestly, the reason I wrote Grimmer Shall Burn is because of the readers. I got harassed endlessly because after Bizarchives 5 or 6 or whatever.
Let's grab them actually, because I've got them on a pile here.
Yeah, after Bizarchives, I can't remember, maybe 4 or 5. I think 4. I was like, you know what? I got enough awesome writers that are really that deserve more spotlight than me. So I took a step back. I think one I have a poem in, and one I that one I have like 4 stories in.
Yeah,
right. So
I'm just holding them back for the audience, holding them up for the audience's benefit. But yeah,
these are like our very first ones. And then after that, I kind of start taking a step back.
This is Lucius Lex there.
Yeah, that's Lex Conquers Hell. That was the last time
that
Lex
was awesome.
appears.
Yeah.
That was the last time Lex appears. I had a bunch of other stories too, but I didn't really like them. And I was like, you know what? Then that's Count Coralor sort of surpassed Lex as the Bizarchives guy. So I was like, you know what? Let Coralor have all the shine, right?
He gets like a graphic outing on this one, doesn't he? He's where is it? Does he get
he gets a comic.
Yeah, but what a character, Dave. I mean, he doesn't sort of just repeat or echo the stereotypes of the barbarian character or whatever. As a sort of fighting man, he has this depth to him.
That's the latest.
This pain that he carries with him. I think it's a great character.
Well, thank you.
I think we all feel in our circles, to one extent or another, we all feel that we're a last of a dying breed, and Lex is that, isn't he? And that's what's great about this book, is that he's rediscovering where he comes from, his history, and when he goes to the different land, he finds the archives of his ancestors, and sorry, go ahead.
So that's another thing that I wanted to subvert, is this idea that the everyman hero, the guy that's like just kind of come the what is that, the hero's journey, right? I hate the hero's journey. I think the hero's journey sucks. Some rando goofball rises up through the ranks and saves the world and stuff like that. In the classical tradition of heroic motif is somebody of noble birth, and Lex is a fallen noble birth, which is what I think a lot of us in today's world, we feel. It's like that Rush song, right? The working man, you're a lot better than you think I am, or whatever. It's like, we kind of pine for a better life, but we're kind of stuck in this thing. And Lex is he goes, and there's kind of a lot of layers to this. I'm going to try to keep it succinct, which is not my forte, but
you're good, man. You're good. Don't worry.
So Grimmer Shall Burn is about I wanted it to start out as stereotypical fantasy adventure as possible. Right, him and this daring rogue meet in a tavern and blah, blah, blah. I wanted it to be completely cliche, and then unravel into something that was just completely bizarre and out there. Lex represents in the story kind of this rooted mythic oikophilia, this love for what is near and dear, and that which is ours is good. And then as the story unfolds, he has to face off with the antagonist, Alakdazmanon, who is the opposite. Alakdazmanon is abstraction. He is universality. He is, he's like the metric system. He is things that aren't rooted, that have nothing to do with things that are human. He's an idealist, right? And he thinks he's the good guy, which is something that we run into in today's world. This is in my opinion the true dichotomy of what you could call left versus right, or good versus evil, or whatever. You have people that believe what is theirs and what is near and what is home is good and healthy and true, and that which is abstraction, that which is outside and foreign and alien, is dangerous. And the people that come in with this idealism about the alien outsideness do the most heinous, cruel, rotten things, but they do them with the belief that they are the good guys and they're merciful and they're enlightened, and that's who Alakdazmanon is, right? He for you guys that read the book, he is this lost, he's not lost, he's a surviving member of a cult of an entity, a cosmic entity called Anuma,
So
right?
is this him here on the?
That is a Alakdazmanon, yeah. And his whole thesis is that he hates the gods, he hates the human world. Well, he doesn't hate it. He thinks that it is cruel and immoral, because his thesis is that, and by through the teachings of Anuma, is that the way that nature itself functions is inherently cruel, because in order for something to live, something else must be destroyed. In order for us to eat, animals must die, plants must die. Everything is a struggle. So he views it as the struggle of nature is cruel, and that it must be reordered in a more perfect way where nobody suffers, nobody's rights are infringed, everything has autonomy, and everything is free. But in doing this, he reorders something, and his vision is absolutely just bizarre and alien and horrifying. So Lex has to beef with him, and along the way, Lex in Grimmer Shall Burn is he's the same character, but he's a more mature character, I think, in this novel, because he opens up, he falls in love, he starts to trust people, the cracks in his tough guy thing, he starts to develop cracks in his tough guy stoicism. That's one thing that I wanted to put in there is I don't like heroes that have no flaws. I don't like heroes that never have any emotion. I don't like heroes that don't show the trauma and not to psychologize it and make it all pathological, and because that's corny too. But if you are somebody that has seen the most horrific, brutal, violent things imaginable thousands and thousands of times during an unnatural long life, that's gonna mess with you. You know what I mean? I watched a lot of interviews with guys that survived wars and fought in the trenches and like saw their friends die. I talked with some of my friends that fought overseas, and one thing that I noticed is that these guys have sort of two personalities, right? They have the compartmentalized war version of themselves, and then they have their civilian version of themselves. So when you get talking to one of these guys, especially, I have a brother, I'm not gonna say his name, but he went overseas. He was a Marine and he fought. He was, kicking indoors, and he really, really saw a lot of action. And talking to him, if you meet him, he's one of the most easygoing, chill, smiley guy. He's like such a nice guy, good guy. When he opens up about this stuff, there's something that flips in his eyes, right? It's almost like the guy that he left behind there comes forward to talk. It's not quite as extreme as I'm describing, but then you feel something, and I wanted Lex to have that beside, he's stoic and he's brutal and he's all of these things, but eventually the scars catch up. Eventually the burden becomes really heavy. And there are a few parts in the book that I wanted him to show that he is still human. He is still a guy, even though he's a murder machine and a monster and death on foot. He still is to see children die, to see infants die, to see women be defiled, still hurts him. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah, you can tell he's a. I mean, this character's got real depth. There is. I want to read something actually. Do you mind if I read a bit of your book out loud, Dave?
No, please.
So this gives you a real taster of the kind of some of the action, but the character himself is like he can do all these things. He can fight, and he's powerful and that, but he has a real depth to him. But this quote doesn't relate to that. It's just something I think, just to give you a taster of it. So this is the chapter Alchemical Zygote, and it's kind of gruesome.
If you're looking to form a death metal band, you've got a name now. That's a freebie.
So it's only a very short paragraph. I won't hold you for too long. Lex raised his bludgeon, which blazed with divine radiance, a beacon of purifying fire amid corruption's domain. The first creature to reach him exploded in a shower of putrid gore as his weapon connected with its thorax. He backhanded another, sending it spinning into the wall, where it burst like rotten fruit. It's just fantastic.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I also wanted to make it metal as fuck, right? That was kind of so. Long story short, I do have a lot of which I didn't do it on purpose. There's a lot of mythic themes in the story that I wove in there kind of on accident. Like I was casting the runes and then sat back and like read them. But I skipped for fantasy novels. I wanted this novel to respect the reader's time. I hate it when I crack a fantasy novel and I got to read about them traveling. I don't care about the logistics of the battle. I don't care. There's an army here and then it's over there. I trust the reader to figure out that they got on a boat or something. I wanted to kind of go from like I wanted to do like a Homeric because this is how like Homer's stories are. They kind of just go from event to event to event, and I wanted that to be there, and I wanted the battles to be gruesome and brutal, but I also wanted them to feel realistic. Another thing I hate in modern fantasy is they fight like superheroes, like Marvel heroes. And you'll have like a girl and she wields a 6-foot greatsword and swings it around and slaughters tons of. And I wanted my battles, despite being full of monsters and exploding gore and magic and weirdness, I wanted it to feel like Lex is a trained, patient fighter. He has, they take fighting stances. They do certain moves, overhand, underhand, shield position, and Lex is not that guy that just charges in. He's a calculated fighter. He's a defensive fighter. He fights with a shield, right? He waits for you to strike, and then he hits you on your joints. He hits you on your kneecap. He hits you on your shoulder. He clips you, beats you down, and breaks you down over time. He's a very tactical minded guy that I wanted to. He's not an intellectual, but he's like an athlete. If you look at somebody like Tom Brady or Larry Bird or something like that, they're probably not going to give you some profound philosophical truth. But what happens in their brain when Larry Bird does like a crossover and step back three and then comes through, or Tom Brady reads the entire defense and fakes you out and then hits the guy. You know what I mean? Like the athletic intelligence. I wanted to show that there. But yeah, I also wanted just like just obnoxious turbo violence, maximum entertainment, cosmic horror monstrosities. I wanted, I hope I did a good job with this. I wanted to write something that was meaningful and deep, but also like as entertaining as possible, like a heavy metal album, right? Because I don't know, I just wanted it to be maximal, but also meaningful at the same time, and avoid a lot of the corny tropes. We could dig into some of the mythopoetics of it if you guys want.
Yeah, it rocked, Dave. It really did rock.
I mean, yeah. I mean, mission accomplished, Dave. I mean, you've
Thank you.
ticked all the boxes. You've given and you've struck a perfect balance between entertaining and gore and action, but with profound, deep, meaningful lore with it as well. And it does have meaning, and it's got, you've got passages like Chris just read out where oh, awesome, and then you've got deep, profound things where you're like, that was beautiful. And I remember on my review, when I was reading it, I'd go, oh, I've got to put a post-it note down. I'm going to read that bit out. And then next thing, it was like it was like a bouquet coming out the side of it. I was just reading. I was like, well, I've got to stop now because it's getting stupid. But you've the balance you've struck. I think the most impressive thing about it is that you've struck this balance where it's so deep and interwoven, but it's not the size of a brick like a Game of Thrones book.
Mm.
It's all very concise as well. And I think a perfect metal album would be the best analogy for it. This is Painkiller. This is it's an album it's a book that hasn't got an ounce of fat on it,
Yeah.
and every riff is that perfect thing between technical, melodic, but memorable. It's got everything. It's
Well,
great.
thank you. Yeah, when this came out, I was like, man, Mr. Webster was actually one of my first test readers, and he could. I was like, I was like, this sucks. People are gonna like. I was really not confident with this because my first novel. I've never written. I've always struggled with long form, and he's really the guy that he's like, he helped me. He's like, hey, this here, we could switch this up and this and that, blah, blah. But he's like, you really need to go forward with this. So Mr. Webster was a big part of this book coming out. But and the other Bizarchives editors too. Shout out Arbogast. Shout out all the guys. They Mr. Jones,
Yeah.
all of them, excellent guys. But we're gonna get into how awesome they are in a minute. But
I just
I'm
think. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I thought you finished.
no. Go ahead. I've been rambling.
I just want to make one more point. There's to all the dads out there, and all three of us are culture dads. This is a perfect book to read on the train. Read it on your way to work and on the way home. You're going to go to work. You're going to arrive at work pumped, and you're going to arrive home re-energized. And you're
Oh
easily
yeah.
going to do a chapter each journey, back and forth, and you'll fly through it throughout the week. That's
Yeah.
what's just great about it. It's got all the depth and everything that you want from one of those big, thick, sophisticated novels, but it's all whittled down to the bare essentials. So the grounds that you cover, you just blast through from place to place, from time to time, and it feels like a bunch of short stories interconnected. So it
Mm.
feels like the story closes and then starts again. So it's like watching a little mini series. So it's all just condensed. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
like that
that's what I
kind
just
of
wanted to say as well.
style.
This is great. This is perfect travel reading.
Yeah. I think
Good.
that's a really good point. I love that style where you've got distinct chapters where things happen and it feels like it's like a 12 course meal rather than a very long main course or something.
Yeah.
It's you've got those pieces and it builds the picture. No, it's a great book, mate.
Thank you. Yeah, that's that was one of the criticisms some folks had, that it felt a little bit too episodic and it wasn't
Well, I mean, I write like that
Yeah,
as
it's an
well.
observation, but I wouldn't put it down as a criticism. You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of taste. That's probably just because I am a short story writer and that's just how I kind of picture stories. But yeah, I wanted to tell a big story in a little bit of time and not waste the reader's time, and kind of put in larger philosophical things for people that are looking for that. And then also, if you're not looking for that, you can just enjoy just a gnarly dark fantasy romp. You know?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think as well you've made it you've said you are inspired by Pulp Fiction, and as we was which we will go on to speak about at some point, I'm sure, H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard, they were writing for Weird Tales magazine, and these books were for the working man. They were for the dad traveling to and from work, and you're obviously very inspired by those writers, so that's just baked into the cake naturally.
Yeah. One of the things about Howard is he would read his, stories aloud. They were supposed to be orated. And I can't help but also write like that. I think that, a good story should have musicality to it. I think it should, you should read it. And if it sounds good aloud, then it's good. I just, that's just something that I feel. And then I couldn't help but put in, because I am a student of history and ancient theologies and things like that. I did try to weave in for example, here's one that I put in. And unless you're familiar with this myth, these symbols, they're not going to jump out at you. But if you're going to feel that they're wrong if you read it, you're not familiar with it. Do you remember the dream sequence? I believe it's the final one where Alak Dasmanon tears open Lex's torso. He plucks his head out, right? He plucks out his own eyes, buries them in Lex's torso, and then a tree grows out, and Lex's head is at the top, right? And then he's holding Lex's head. So this is a kind of because Alak Dasmanon is a blasphemous thing. This is an inversion of the Odinic myth. So Odin puts his eyes into the well to learn the truth, and then hangs upon the tree, and then Mimir's head. He holds Mimir's head, right? Alak Dasmanon makes a mockery of this, and because Lex is an Odinic figure, it's sort of like it's supposed to be a blasphemy of that myth, which is a myth that is found. The structure of it is found in many, many other Indo-European myths. It's something that's just in us. That idea of the going deep for truth, hanging upon the tree, doing all this kind of stuff. And if you're reading this, my intention was that even if you don't know that myth, you've never read it, it just feels wrong. It feels blasphemous. You feel like that Alak Dasmanon is doing something cosmically wrong. And I just wanted to put that in there.
Yeah, awesome.
Joe,
Yeah.
do you mind if I'm gonna put my dressing gown on. I'm gonna put my robe on, Dave, because I'm an
Your
old man and
smoking
I'm sitting
jacket.
outside and I'm
Do your
cold.
thing.
Yeah, no worries. So, yeah, when we get back, then I mean, we'll speak about what Chris has got going on, and then we'll talk about the new edition of the Bizarchives.
Yeah.
Is that going to be out this week? You say?
Yes. Sorry for rambling so long about.
No, it's fine.
Yes,
We're here.
Yeah. I put quite a bit of thought into,
Yeah.
into that book.
Yeah.
Sorry about
I
that.
was going to say
You're
something.
good.
I forget. No, it's gone. But
Yeah, that's another thing though, Dave, is that it is those layers that are woven in, the weft and the weave of it, where you have all that kind of that mythic out. And so a reader could read it and enjoy it and not necessarily read exactly what you were intending, but they would get the feeling. And I think it's embedded in there in that tapestry. I think it's great. I think, it's I mean, what amazed me was, and I may have said this to you about the fact that reading the Lex stories, the short stories, that transition, moving that into novel length, that's a difficult thing to do. And I know you touched upon that before, but that really is a difficult thing to do, to transform it into something which works and holds together, rather than feeling like it's cobbled together and expanded and bloated. It works as a kind of a great big block of energy. So I don't know.
Well, thank you.
so yeah, Chris, let's talk about what you've been. So you've been writing for the Bizarchives for a number of years as well.
It all started with this man.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was
That helps. Yes.
I'd been writing when I was in my 20s. I decided that I wanted to write. I wrote a few short stories, had a couple published, and then I got into a career and got married, and the writing went to the back burner. And then when I I think it was about I took early retirement from my job, so by 2022, I think I saw an interview with Dave, and he was talking about the Bizarchives, and I thought, right, okay, this really sounds. Now, I'd spent about 2 years prior to that writing to publishers, and I was told by publishers I had to have an agent. So I'd write to agents, and I can show you. I've got a file which is a list of about 40 people I wrote to. I just couldn't get anywhere. I couldn't get. I'd send them samples of writing and things. I thought, okay. When then Dave came, I saw this interview with Dave, and I thought, well, I've got this story I wrote in the '90s, which I liked, and I've got a good friend who's a really good critical reader, and he liked it. So I thought, okay. So I edited it, sent it in, and that was the Reliquary, and that was in Bizarchives 4, I think. And then after that, I approached Dave with the idea of a novella, and so it was this man who's responsible. And what I did was after
Archives
the
4
the
goes.
Reliquary was published, yeah, that's that one, yeah. After that was published in there, I started writing, and I tried to. I did a short story a week, and built up this big catalogue of short stories and submitted them to Bizarchives, Aegeon, a couple of other places. But yes, it's his fault.
It's all Dave's fault. So I mean, because I find you quite hard. So you haven't really been writing that long, and
Well, yeah,
no, you've been published that long.
yeah. Literally,
And
it's only the last. Yeah.
because I found you quite hard to keep up with. So you're quite prolific, but let's go through
Well,
it.
I mean,
So
yeah.
I guess we'll go through what I'll show you what I've got, and you tell me what are Bizarchives and what aren't.
Right.
I first was made aware of you with the Horror Beneath, which is on the
Yeah.
Bizarchives.
Yeah.
Obviously with your stories that are published in the Bizarchives. This is your latest one, I believe, Weird Tales.
Yeah. Weird
And
trails.
sorry,
So it's just
Yeah.
it's a take on that.
This as well. So this is Western stories, but with a bit of Lovecraft weaved in. And did you, or both of you, my dad got me into this series, a Western series with the main character's name's Edge. Are you familiar with that, either of you?
No, I don't know.
Mm-mm.
Oh, right, don't worry then. But I was wondering if that was a.
Sorry. No,
Well,
I
so,
mean it's he's a Texan, the character, and
yeah.
he's a Howardian character. Like Dave, I'm a huge kind of follower of Robert E. Howard, and so there are a couple of tales which are based in America and in Texas. One's in Texas, one's in Mexico, but the others are in different places. So there's one in World War II in Germany, one's um, in England, and effectively it's just his arc. And Dave said about the character having a noble background, the hero. So this he's just a rough Bronco buster in Texas, but he suddenly discovers that he's contacted, and in fact he's the heir to an English title. So he comes over to England, and that's the first adventure, which is and this is set in the 1930s. So and the whole that story hinges on the
So
fact.
this is one book. I thought this was a collection of short stories. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's basically it's his arc as a character of this one character.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right. So we've got Weird Trails, the Horror Beneath.
yeah.
Um, I've got other
Lovecraft's
things.
cat.
Other things
It's
that
coming.
came up. Yeah, yeah. That was the second lot I brought out. Yeah. So these are all shorts. So Lovecraft's cat and that one, other things.
Yeah. Right. We'll get into it. Yeah. Right.
They're on anthologies of short stories that I've had published either in Bizarchives, Aegeon Science Fiction Illustration.
I'm familiar with Aegeon. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and other places, and I had them. It was that couple of years. I thought this year, well, I'll put them together. I'll write a few new stories for them, and I had a couple of extra new stories, and that's what they were. Unfortunately, now my war chest is almost empty, so I've got to start writing like a madman to get back up to speed.
Well, it seems like you have been writing like a madman because there's one more book to show off. and the
Yeah,
um,
that was yeah. So that was the no, I that
yeah.
was the that one I self-published that. Look how thick it is. It's you could kill someone with it. It's so basically that I started that in the early 90s. I left it for years. I went back to it. I finally finished it just before I retired. And I did this whole business of approaching publishers and sending them things, and no one was interested. And maybe I mean, it's had good reviews, so maybe it's not as bad as that, but whatever. So I self-published it. I published it in 3 parts. It's a trilogy, and then I did the big fat thing
I got the
as
box
well.
set. Yeah.
Yeah, you got the box set. And I must go back and have a look at it again at some point, but I almost can't bear to because I lived with it for so long. But yeah, I got that out there, and then it was really after that was out, I wrote The Horror Beneath. I started writing that,
Yeah.
and it started off as a short story, and I thought it's got legs this, and I'm just going to take it on a bit further. But going back to what I was saying to Dave about going from Lex short stories to Grimace, this whole idea of moving it into another, because I very often also I'll be writing and I think this doesn't need to be any longer than 8,000 words, 6,000 words. It's very tempting sometimes. You get great little short story. You think I could develop this maybe, but then other times they just run and they do grow organically and they do need that space. Yeah. So I've got another one coming out in on October the 21st. This is Confessions of an Occult Detective. Couple of,
Hell yeah.
a couple of these have been in the Bizarchives, but there's the rest of them are all in there. So that's basically the career of this one guy called Vernon Smith.
Right. So I've got a shopping list here. So I've got new Bizarchives to get, and when's that out?
21st.
The 21st. Right. Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, it's occult detective month as well as scary, spooky season.
Yeah. So on this channel, I do retrospectives. So we're going to do a quick buying guide to CP Webster. So these are the singles and EP compilations. They're worth picking up. The one maybe Lovecraft's Cat seems to be the one-stop shop that people start with.
Yeah, let's start with that one. And
then you've got the 2 albums, and then you've got the double. Then you've got the double concept album where he goes completely off on one, and
that's about right.
He'll be playing it in full in 20 years.
Yeah, that's the Genesis album.
Am I? Yes, this is your night Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you won't be playing it. A tribute band will be playing it.
Right.
Is that what? So what am I missing? Have I got?
I think that's everything.
That's everything. Right.
Everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was more. Right.
Yeah. No, I didn't be pressurizing me now.
This guy is just Mr. Webster is just a fantastic writer. One of my favorite things that he does. He's really, really, really good at. And a lot of writers try to do this, and it doesn't hit as well. As he is very good at the kind of. It is a Lovecraftian approach, but it's also a mystery writer approach, where I don't want to call it slow burn in the beginning, but he does such a wonderful job of bringing it all together. He'll take several threads and then he brings them all together at the end to do a big reveal, right? And this also ties into he's it's a very English way of approaching a story. I've talked about this at length, the kind of the American versus the English sensibilities of writing, and Mr. Webster does it excellently. Another thing I do find interesting is that our English writers really love to write American characters, and our American writers really love to write English characters. So that's something that I've noticed is, especially
that's true.
It's like when an English writer says, "Hey, I wrote this American character. Can you check out some of the dialogue?"
Yeah,
and they're almost they're almost always some kind of cowboy, some kind of Southern guy, or they're from New York and they're some kind of mobster. Those are like the two favorite American archetypes types of the Englishman.
Yeah,
So
they're the two I've done.
well, they're good ones. They're good ones. You can't, Well, those are also the two type of pulp stories and type of movies that people overseas probably fall in love with. They're probably like when they think of American cinema, they probably think of For a Few Dollars More, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and The Godfather and Goodfellas. Those are probably like the two types of American characters or Sopranos or something like that. But with Mr. Webster's talent for taking multiple threads and weaving them together he first sent me the Reliquary. And at the time, I was getting overwhelmed with submissions. We were getting too many submissions, and I brought in some help reading some submissions. And he sent me the submission, which, by the way, me and him are Telegram DMs. He has sent me so many stories that I've never had the chance to even open. he's such a machine with right. I'm like, I feel bad because I just don't have
And I'm
time
going, Dave will like this one. Dave will like this one.
I just don't have time. I'm like finally now digging into stories he sent me like last year. But he sent me the Reliquary, and I was reading another story, so I passed it off to my friend in real life, and I was like, "Hey, can you give this a quick read?" And he comes back like a few hours later. He's like, "You have to read this. This slaps." And I read it. I was like, "Okay, this is going in immediately."
Oh,
So we put the Reliquary in, and then I think he sent me a couple more shorts, and then he sent me. It was originally called
Marchley Howe. Yeah.
Marchley Howe, and it was Marchley Howe and Other Tales.
Yeah.
And I read it, and the other tales were good, but the Marchley Howe one, I was like, this is a banger. I just fell in love with it. The way that I read is, excuse me, I have like an auto reader, and I put it down and I listen to it, and then it helps me read faster. So I put it at like ×2 speed, and I read along with it, and it helps me. I could read really quickly that way. I got probably 3 paragraphs in, and then I put it at regular speed, and then a few more paragraphs, and I turned it off completely and just read it all on my own. And my wife was like barking at. She's like, "Are you going to sit there all day? We have to." And I was like, "I'm going to finish." So I sat there and just front to back finished the entire thing in one day. And I was like, we have to release this. And I talked Mr. Webster into changing the name of it. I was like, this needs something a little bit more ominous because it's such a classic type of story. I was like, the horror beneath, right? Something that sounds like it's out of the Weird Tales.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's one of our best sellers. People love this novella. I have it.
The artwork sells it on its own. I mean, that cover's awesome.
Yeah,
it is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a great tale. I'm sorry, I'm talking over you about your own story. I just really love your work.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, mate. Yeah, I do appreciate that. And that was really the impetus I needed. That somebody could actually read them and like them. And then when they began to sell, and the other books, the ones I've done this year, they've been selling really well. I got some they went in a based bus book sale that was on, and I sold a lot that month. And then it gets kind of viral in a very small way, but people start to. But the big thing is that I have to do the uncomfortable thing of doing social media. So I'm just not I'm not a tech guy. Dave knows I'm not a tech guy, and Joe knows I'm not a tech guy now. But it's so I've got an X account, and I've got a Facebook account, and I've got Instagram, and I learned Substack, and I just put them on there, and updates and things, and then I've started with my YouTube channel. I've done a couple of things. I do a thing. Every month I'll do 1 or 2 of them where I just sit and talk. It's out here where I sit out and write, and I'm undercover. So if the rain's falling, it doesn't matter. And I do these recordings where I talked about Tolkien. I've talked about death.
That's talking to myself.
Yeah. So they're just, and they're only about 3 or 4 minutes long things.
Yeah.
I can bear to do that because there's no camera involved or anything. And then I've done one book review. I did a Robert E. Howard's The Sowers of the Thunder, which was four long short stories, and that was great read. So I thought I'm going to do a review of this and tell everyone how great it is. So it's just I know I've got to do one I think about these books at some point, just a short one. But you just got to do the media stuff, otherwise
Yeah.
It
no one
seems
will know.
everyone does now. If you're in a band and you've got people doing their social media before their social media is bigger than what they actually do.
Yeah.
What the social media is meant to be selling, Um, I've been told with my own channel, you're not doing enough social media. You need to get an Instagram account and you need to be doing shorts. And it's just, no, I can't be bothered.
That
This
sucks.
takes up enough time as it is. But I suppose since you're both here, I'd like to get a bit more of the insight in the sort of life of a writer. What do you follow routines? Does it get to a point? I mean, I've had very limited experience of writing where I used to write for music magazines, where it kind of gets to a point of if it's not quite ready yet, it needs to build up and build up to the point where it's like a coiled spring, and then bang, then now I'm ready. I think we all sort of start with a blank page, going, "How do I start?" But once you get that first line, then you're off. Do you have off days where you have to force yourself to do it, or
You want to go first, Dave?
Yeah, you go first.
Well, yeah, for me, it's a process where once there's an initial idea, and the idea might come from anything really. It'll come into my head something, and I'll think, well, that's quite interesting. I'll play with that. But in terms of routine, I get up about 5 or 6 in the morning, about five usually, and then I'll come down and have coffee. So it's quiet time before everyone else is up, and I'll get my laptop out and I'll look at what I've written the day before, and I'll edit it a bit, and I kick that process. Then it's taking the kids to school, all that kind of thing. But in the day, I need to know that once I'm back from the kids taking the grandchildren to school run and whatever, that I'm going to be able to sit for at least 2 hours uninterrupted. If I know something's going to happen, like there's I don't know, a doctor's appointment or something like that, that really stalls me. I really need to know that there's just clean time.
yeah, yeah,
And then but the process itself is just totally weird. There's no sense to it. I don't have a plot. And I don't plot out what I'm going to do. I don't think, okay, this could be a good story. This would happen first, then this, then this, and this. I just start right and I listen. And the other day I was in one of the other rooms and my wife could hear me talking. She said, "Who are you talking to?" And I said, "It's just a bit of dialogue." So get these things will come into my head and I'll say them out loud and then I'll go and write them down. And so I've always said this. Every time I talk about it, I always feel like I'm a radio set, and I just have to tune. And once I tune in, I'm
yeah.
seeing and hearing like a movie, and
Mm.
my writing is describing what I'm seeing, and I can't say any other way than that. Really, it's mad. It's but and I don't really know what's going to happen, um, but most of the time it works out. That I mean, sometimes there are stalled things. You write 3,000 words and then you think, this isn't going anywhere. But most of the time it just can, and then you think, oh yeah, that's why that happened, and oh okay, well, and then it sort of fits together. So it's a really unscientific response to, and I'll get phases. Usually, this sounds kind of cookie. Around about the full moon, I'll often have a block around about the full moon. I won't be able to write anything. Once the moon starts to once it's finished waning and or when it goes into waning and then I'm all right again. So I don't know
That's
what that
funny because I
means.
thought you would have said during the full moon is when it,
It'd be good. Yeah,
yeah,
no.
because they say stuff about the like there's, I don't know how true it is,
Maybe
but the
my
police say the crime always goes up during a full
yeah.
moon and
Well,
things like
I'm
that.
I'm too busy being a lycanthrope or
Well, yeah, I mean,
you know,
we all have that problem, but yeah,
I don't know. But it's the whole process is very odd and it's unscientific, and I get a bit autistic about time. I need routines, so I need to know that by 10 or 11 in the morning, I am starting to write. And if that's disrupted, that my whole schedule goes to hell. And
Yeah.
if something comes along that's a surprise, that throws me off. It's a stupid thing.
So, Dave, what about yourself?
Oh my God, it might be even more mad than I'm I'm a maniac. It's I'm not a routine guy. I'm one of the most scattered, disorganized people you'll ever meet. I just I have a daily planner right next to me. As I'm looking at it, there's stuff that I just completely forgot about. It's right beside my head, and I just
Well,
completely
sorry,
forget
Dave,
about.
sorry to just interject, but the reason I'm asking this is because it's all well and good asking John Grisham what his routine is. When someone's a full, they always ask someone what their route, how they write when they're a full-time writer. But when you were talking yourselves, with you've got jobs, you've got kids, you've got everyday life, you have to cram it in, and that's why I wanted to ask. For
Yeah, I
yeah,
I get hit with the madness, and then I go into an obsession hole, and
I
my
get hit
fingers
with the
go and
madness, then go
yeah,
into an obsession hole.
yeah.
Everything Dave does, it's a song lyric, isn't it? It's
But yeah, it's yeah, I
I
can't
wake up in the madness.
yeah,
Go into
but
the obsession hole.
yeah, I would be totally lying if I said that like heavy metal was not one of my main inspirations
Yeah.
for. In fact, in Grimmer Shall Burn, the character Gorm the Mammoth King is based off of Visigoth's The Mammoth Rider. I literally got obsessed with
Yes,
that song and listened to
yeah.
it for like 3 days straight, and then like Gorm came about. That's
That was so good when it was described in the book as well. It's just, oh, this is awesome. Yeah.
it's just metal. So
You
yeah,
see,
I
you see what Dave said there. Sorry to interrupt, Dave.
no, go ahead.
When I were at Albion, I listened to Ronnie James Dio every single day. It just
Hell yeah.
worked.
Hell yeah. That's music. There's all kinds of sometimes I'll watch a film. Sometimes I'll go outside and I'll just like see something. And like for example, we're gonna before we shut it down, I want to go through and give folks an exclusive preview of what's going to be in the Bizarchives 8. But one of the stories in there is called Bloom that I wrote.
Mhm.
And the story
Oh, yeah.
it's rough. It's a gross one. But I went outside, my kids were playing, my dog was going out, and we have a pumpkin plant outside. It's just a rogue pumpkin plant from a pumpkin that we must have let rot last year. It just bloomed. And it had one kind of mediocre, sad little pumpkin that but it's like really long. It goes halfway across my whole yard. And we just let it grow. I don't know why. But I'm like looking at the pumpkin vine, and I'm like, what if humans did plant stuff? That was it. And then I was like, okay, what do plants do? Oh, if humans did that, that would be so gross. And then it just exploded in my mind. And I tell my wife, I was like, this is my wife, my poor wife is sort of, I get these crazy ideas. Like Mr. Webster said, I get a whole like head movie, right? It's a whole
Yeah.
movie in my head. And I'm like, can I tell you about this story? And sometimes she's like, yeah, okay, you can tell me. And other times she's like, all right, let's hear it. And I just ramble in her face for like a half hour,
Like
right?
that meme with the girl in the nightclub, the guy's like just speaking in her ear.
That's it. That's it. Except my wife is a little bit more receptive than her. She's like, right, depending on her mood. But I pretty much torture her with my mad ramblings of my head movie. And I'm like, okay, I gotta work. And she's like, okay, go. And I go lock myself in my room and I do it and I write it until it's either done or I fall over. And that's my thing is if I exit the obsession pit before it's over, it goes into the locker until I get it again. It's probably not the most
That's interesting.
professional way to go about it. Professional writers are like, oh, I incrementally do this, blah 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 blah, and I do have a routine every day where I have to write something. Right. Somebody put
Yeah.
it in my head once upon a time that You're not a real writer until you've written 1 million words. And at this point, I'm probably at 5 million words because every day, even if it's just a poem, even if it's just a few paragraphs of just something that goes nowhere, even if it's just who knows what it is, I just write something,
Yeah.
and that is just that's my process. Is I get a crazy weird idea in my head, it blossoms into a ridiculous head movie. I terrorize my wife with it, and then I go into an obsession hole and do it until I fall over.
Yeah,
It's
I
aircraft.
heard one writer said to me, he said, "What's most important is that you write something." He says, "If you start with nothing and finish with nothing, that's when you're trapped." He went, "Even if you write utter bollocks and you read it the next day and delete it, at least you wrote something." But I was listening to something the other day, and I think it's someone, I can't remember who the writer was, but he said, "Make sure when you finish halfway through a sentence."
Yeah.
So there, when you go and read it the next day, the fact that you've got half the sentence there, it gets your mind going again.
Yeah,
Rather,
I find that way. If I leave it at the point where the character's just about to do something really interesting, or something really interesting is about to happen, it's like almost a cliffhanger. It's
yeah.
easier to get back into it.
So I want to go into I want to talk about different writers, and hopefully we can speak about some metal as well. But I wanted to ask you, there's, I think, broadly speaking, there's two. There's, what is it they say? There's the architect, where he maps everything out and knows where he's going. So he's got the architect of the story. And then there's the gardener. So the gardener plants the seeds. There's this type of person, or there's this sort of
Yeah,
situation in this, and we're plumping them in there. And then the garden will grow, and they've got no control of where it goes. And I think that's Stephen King. Although Stephen King is, I think it's kind of like, are you going to be as tight as Megadeth, or are you going to jam like Frank Zappa and the Grateful Dead? It's like, well, both have got varying results, and both have got their pros and cons. Is it is it better to be an architect or a gardener, or is it better to be kind of like a, not so much like an architect where every little nook and cranny is planned, but maybe a couple of pointers, and then we'll be a gardener on the way, sort of thing? What's your opinion on each sort of archetype of a writer?
I'm the absolute opposite of the architect,
yeah,
but I will tell you that the architect is the more efficient one, is the better one to be. Because you have it all mapped out, you have it all planned out, you have all this kind of stuff. It's just a better way of going about it. It's more efficient, it's more planned out. But there's no right way to do it. At the end of the day, we are creating entertainment, and if it entertains, then you did a good job. Sometimes the most meticulously mapped out, uh, perfectly executed art is it don't slap, and sometimes a song that is just jammed out off of one riff at band practice turns out to be the most banger song you ever heard. It's just I don't
yeah,
know. It depends on the writer. It just depends, I
Mm.
think.
yeah. I think it's a very personal thing because I've tried to do that where you plan things out, and I've thought, well, okay, let's say this happened, and then that could. I just can't do it. In fact, it stops me from writing. I just have to go like a guy with a lantern in the dark, just sort of finding my way. And I don't have the roadmap. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I think you have to just do. I think if you work in that kind of style. Now, some people can, and they do very successfully, plot out and develop all these kind of strategies for creating the arc and that. I have to write blind. It's just
No, that's a
the way it
beautiful
is.
way to put it. I'm a man with a lantern in the dark, and but I say Stephen King because it's a name we're all familiar with. But he says he's the gardener, but he is the first to admit he's terrible with endings. He never knows how to end a story. And then you've got someone like George Martin, where he's completely wrote himself into a corner, where he's got this 5 volume monolith, which he can't finish. And it's obvious more and more every day with the game, well, A Song of Ice and Fire, but we know, most people know it as the Game of Thrones because of the series. Like, he can't
I,
finish it. He doesn't know how to finish it because he's it's all just grown out of things. He's like, I don't actually know how to tie this up.
I was just going to say, I also think those kind of writers who are very successful commercially are also have the pressure of a publisher who's saying, well, this is what we need now. You can't do that. It has to be like this, and it must. I think they do have a degree of creative freedom, of course, but I think there's a huge amount of pressure on them. They've got to produce the next gigantic fat doorstop.
Yeah, I think it's like Dave said. There's riffs that make you involuntary play air guitar, and there's ones that don't. There's
Yeah,
books that make you miss your stop on the bus or train, and there's ones that don't. And that's really what you really want to be aiming for. You want someone to be sitting on a bus or sitting on a train reading your book, and they're going, "Shit, I've missed my stop."
Yeah.
That's a good book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really a strange thing. I think,
There's a song that gets you done for speeding, and
I think a lot of people look at the when they think of like the writing process, they think it is some kind of scientific thing,
so
but really it's not at all. It's completely qualitative. um it's actually, it is a skill and a craft, because pretty much what you're doing is you're taking these thought forms that are in your head and trying to transcribe them and put them into somebody else's head. Which if you know anything, speaking of the Odinic myth, the runes, right? Odin reaches into the well and learns the secret of the runes and then gives it to mankind. Um, we a lot of people look at oh, well, this has to be some kind of magic. There has to be something more to it. But really, it was just a writing script. The ancient peoples viewed writing itself as magic. That's why it's called spelling. It was a spell. To write was a spell, because you got to think about it. You're transferring thoughts from brain to brain, from my mind to your mind. The writing itself is a strange ritual. It is magic in and of itself. It's just not magic as we modern people think of it, because we take it for it's a mundane thing to us because everybody can read. But it is a form of magic.
yeah,
yeah,
I think I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I say that when I'm writing it and I talk about being contacted by the muse. I mean it literally almost. I mean, I almost feel like there has to be this connection with something else before I can start writing. I know that sounds bonkers, but this. It's not that. Sure, it's probably happening in this jelly up here and that, but I almost, as I said before, by being a radio antenna, and sort of, I think I need that connection, and very often you need that kind of. Uh, Spirit, it's a spiritual thing in some
It
ways,
is.
rather than being anything scientific. It's an odd thing, and I feel very privileged. When I get to the end and if I can produce a story and then I get feedback and someone says they got something from it, that's an incredible privilege. It's to have communicated something. But as Dave says, it's mind images, and you're sort of you're the kind of the Rosetta Stone that translates all that kind of stuff into this. Well, where it comes from, I still think it's mysterious. I do. It's very
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah. In the setting of Grim Earth, I talk a lot about what I call the dream sea, right? And the dream sea, I literally believe in it. I believe that there is this realm above reality, which is made of this kind of qualitative, formless inspiration, this stuff.
Yeah.
And creative people, when they get into the zone of creation, tap into that, and they get this stuff, because there's no such thing as new ideas. There's just ideas that, like Tolkien called it, the pot of soup, right? There are certain elements of stories in every age. People dip their ladle into the pot of soup and they bring out the same ingredients. They're just arranged a little bit differently. And that's what we do is we dip our ladle in the Tolkienian pot of soup, the cauldron of ideas, and we pull it out and arrange it in a way that that's the best that we can. That's this is everybody is just kind of very limited by the tools, the craft, the technology of language in order to because the words, the language themselves is not necessary. It is an art. It is the art. And I'm a romantic, right? I'm a romanticist. So I believe that there should be beauty and musicality and ornateness to the language itself. I'm under the impression that you should be able to read out your story to somebody that speaks a completely different language and they don't even understand what you're saying and they could feel it and they'll be like, that sounds beautiful, right? Frank Frazetta used to do this thing where he would paint his paintings, and then after he was done, he would sit back and turn his painting upside down and unfocus his eyes. And if the composition was still beautiful to him, then it was a beautiful work, right? So I believe that there should be an artful, beautiful quality to the language, even when you're describing something grotesque and monstrous or terrifying. But we are all as human beings very limited with this technology of language that we have to transcribe these thought forms, this imaginal stuff into something that could be transferred to whoever's reading it and give them your mind movie.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what I forgot to say earlier. But it taps back into what you just saying. So it reminds me is you were saying that the writing should be read aloud, or some writings were designed to be read aloud. And then someone I know you're a massive fan of Homer. Those were performed.
Yep.
It wasn't written, it was originally written anyway. The street performers would perform the Iliad and the Odyssey. And I quoted you, funny enough, the other week, Dave. So I want to give you your props. But again, it says what you should be able to say it in a different language, and still the person gets the essence of what you mean. And it was about art. I don't know if you saw it was the Down episode. I don't know if you watched that. We were saying a great metal album. We shouldn't really. It's kind of I made my whole show redundant because it's like you should just be listening to a good album and just go, fuck, and that's it. And you said this on the Culture Dads, where with modern art, you go to an art gallery now, and there's this little placard explaining what the art is. And you said you shouldn't need that. Anyone, doesn't matter the education level, anyone should be able to look at a piece of art and appreciate it for what it is. It shouldn't need explaining. It should just make sense, just like you were saying with the Frank Frazetta painting. He went, you should look at the piece of art and describe it with one word. Based.
Yeah.
And this is what I was saying the other day. I was like, you should be able to look at art and just go, based. And you should just listen to an album and go, fuck. And that's it. We go all the way around and then we come back down to the bare essentials,
Yeah. Dude should just look at it or hear it and just go, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's there's this now to add a little bit to that, there is the question of taste, right? Taste is something that needs to be learned and developed and sophisticated. If you take just some like knucklehead that doesn't even think art matters and thinks art sucks or something like that, you take them into an art gallery full of the coolest art ever made, they don't know what they're looking at. You know what I mean? Somebody that doesn't know, you take some chucklehead goofball and give them the coolest book ever, they might not appreciate it because it is a matter of taste and there is intelligence that goes in it and there's factors that go in. Not everybody's gonna look at Frank Frazetta and go, hell yeah, right? Some people are like, oh, what am I looking at? It's just a fucking right.
Yeah.
But Anybody that does have even a modicum of taste should be able to look at your art and appreciate it, or read it
Yeah.
and appreciate it, because in modernity, where we are terminally utilitarian and terminally humanist, humanism in it, they paint humanism as it's this like kind of like just be nice to everybody. And really what humanism is, hubris. Humanism is this idea that man in his condition must be put upon the throne of God.
Yeah.
And because of that, they presuppose and expect everything to be like humans. And what humans do to express ourselves is we talk. So when humanists look at art, uh, they just they want it to say something, right? Terminal utilitarians, they look at art and they're like, all right, well, what does this do for us? What is its function? How can it make money? How does it make big line go up? How does it and what both sides are missing is that art in and of itself doesn't need to say anything, and it doesn't need to have value, because it's beauty in and of itself, beauty, weirdness, the sublime. These things are meaning. They they don't need to say anything to be meaningful, because they just are meaning. You look at I use this analogy. I say, you look at a river and you say, wow, that river's beautiful. What does the river say? What does the river mean? It doesn't mean or say anything. It just is meaning. It just is beauty. And in order for um, beauty to exist, there must be somebody to behold the beauty, right? Beauty is beauty, and weirdness and the sublime and entertainment are these are entirely human observations. These are entirely human perceptions. And we as humans that are the beholders of beauty, of weirdness, of the sublime, need to erase the hubris of humanism and erase the terminal grayness, the sterility of utilitarianism, and behold beauty, behold these things that I've said as the ancient people did, and just say and just go, hell yeah, because that is what it is. It just needs to. It just it's completely a pre-rational thing. When we do our, Mr. Joe, you do excellent retrospectives on these albums, and you
Thank
you
you.
give you give all of these. You're like, oh, this rules. This part's good. I like this. This riff was so good, and you go into all this stuff. But really, did you think of that when you were listening to the album and you decided whether or not it was awesome? No, you just listened. That was awesome, and then
Yeah.
after post hoc, after you've listened to the album, then you cook up these
Mm.
justifications. It's the beholding of beauty and awesomeness is a completely pre-rational thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think because I as Big Dave knows it, I worked in art schools for years and years as a
Yeah.
teacher, and
I bet you
it's
can tell some horror stories now. Yeah.
well, I was very fortunate, but not the place that were the very traditional places, but you do get that like that idea of and that constant argument about subjectivity and objectivity, and saying, well, everything's subjective, and and it's you just no, there is a core, there is a
Yeah.
core, and you know it when you see it, and it comes from. I mean, in art, you want to make sure that they learn how to, what they understand the materials they're working with, but most of all that they're steeped in the past. And as I say, I was lucky that I worked in two places that were very traditional and did all that, so that they were steeped in those elements. But there were all other elements too that, as you say, there were some horror things, but it's I do believe that, and I agree with what Dave's saying. I think there's an objective truth that we know. Um, when going back to Grim Myth Shall Burn, when Dave says about the eyes being planted in the dream sequence,
Yeah.
you know, you know that's kind of wrong. There's something primevally wrong about that. And I
I
think,
think it's what Dave said as well. Is you know it when you see it. It might
yeah,
not be able to be explained, but we all recognise it.
yeah, I think,
We all appreciate a sunset or
yeah. Why is that? What is it about the sunset?
a baby laughing,
Hmm.
whatever it is. It's yeah,
Taps into something that's hardwired in us, I think.
yeah. So yeah, we've let's get into writers then. There's I think we all let's go for the top two and work our way down. So H.P. Lovecraft and Robert E. Howard. I mean, well, I suppose what's been interesting as well is where they're two American writers. Um, it's funny how you you always have both. No one reads H.P. Lovecraft and not Robert E. Howard, or vice versa. Everyone reads both. It's kind of like these titans of that. What
Yeah, you get that, don't you? Get that
what do
sort
you
of.
think the and they do seem to be getting a massive resurgence as well. Do you think that's online, like an online thing where people have been?
Oh,
I mean, if H.P.
yeah,
Lovecraft was alive today, he'd be a multimillionaire.
yeah, yeah. It's gigantic. The thing is, you say about the American, and what's always happened is there's been this kind of melding, this
Mm.
transatlantic melding. So Lovecraft loved Algernon Blackwood, or I think he first read Mac in
I was going to mention Arthur Mackin later on. Funny enough, yeah,
yeah.
I was going to get on to him
But,
next.
but when he first read Mackin, he was like, "Yes, this is." There's that synergy, and I hesitate to say it's an Anglo thing because I know, um, first of all, Britain's made up a lot of different, and I'm an Anglo Gael, so I'm a mix of Irish and English and
Yeah, I
Manx,
mean,
so but there is a strong kind of synergy between. I mean, up until relatively recent times, probably 150 years ago or 200 years ago, people still referred to America as England West. That was still a thing, and or Britain West. So that link between the two countries, I think, is very powerful, and and we see it in music. How it bounces back and forth.
yeah. Bear with me
Yeah.
too. This heat has just kicked in. I'm just going to quickly switch it off.
Well, you send it here, please, Joe, because I'm bloody freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you not agree, Dave? There is that kind of synergy, and there's things that are built up
And he's
upon
back. Yeah, sorry.
those things.
Oh my God. All of the best stuff, whether we're talking art forms, inventions, everything has been this kind of feedback informing one another between American and English people.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not ethnically English. I'm, German and Italian, but I'm from America. I'm part of the Anglosphere. I am part of the cultural milieu of the English diaspora, and that's inescapable. It's in me, right?
And I think Lovecraft saw himself as a sort of 18th century Englishman
He
in
did
many ways. Yeah,
100%. He was
yeah.
an Anglophile to the max.
I
Actually,
th-
James Dio was as well. Yeah.
but why those two? I think, I mean, Dave will probably say it more eloquently than me, but there's something about Howard, um, and for some people this might be sacrilegious. Howard's my favorite of the two, but I love Lovecraft's work. I think there's something about Lovecraft which is kind of, um, would you say it was Odinic, Dave?
I would say they both are.
Yeah.
Lovecraft, you mentioned about English. Lovecraft probably has more of an English flavor to his writing and how he approaches literature than actual Englishmen. He was so, and he would probably get mad at me for saying he's not an actual Englishman, but he was absolutely the English mind puzzle. Somebody called that. Everything from Sherlock Holmes
Yeah.
to Arthur Machen to there's so many. You could bring up any Victorian or any writer from that era, from the 1800s going into the early 1900s from England, has this kind of vibe, whereas American writers fed off of that and then became a little bit more bombastic. And this is where we get like kind of the Howard was, in my opinion, the first like real England American romantic as far as writing pulp romantic. So I would say that they were both Odinic in different ways. Lovecraft was about the mind puzzle, the slow burn, the revealing of truth after like a dark thing, because that's how his stories go. It's a slow burn that takes you into the darkness, and at the end he reveals to you something monstrous. Even something as simple as the horror at the museum, which is a story about, they think it's a wax museum and there's this weird monster there. Turns out the monster's real and it eats people, and the guy gets eaten at the end. That's that's one of his more simple stories, but even then you don't see that coming. But when it does come, you realize you did see it coming. That is so English, and that is so Odinic in its approach. Whereas Howard is the fury, right?
Sorry.
Yeah.
One of them is, so the kind of the two aspects of the Odinic is
the fury, absolutely.
Yeah, you have the Furor Poeticus and the Furor Teutonicus, right? You have the poetic fury, and then you have the warrior fury. Yeah. And Howard comes in, we think of him as this very romantic, poetic writer, but when you go back and you read his stuff, he was actually a very economical writer. He didn't pull punches. There was no fat. It was just, he painted in these broad strokes. The warrior comes in and axes are on high and come crashing down as blah blah blah, and he just kind of gives you this broad stroke of a battle. It's just he was just a dragon, right, spewing flames. And that was the Odinic aspect in the Wild Hunt, right? That was the Herjafudr, right? The master of war, the master of hosts coming to burn down all, and it was just unbridled fury and lust and hate and conquering and war, but also love, and just all of the very human things, but cranked up all the way. And they were sort of mirror reflections of one another, which probably goes to why they were such good. I like to call them frenemies, because if you read their letters,
spiky,
yeah, all they pretty much
I
do
was
is
just
argue.
about to mention it. That's why I just got up to grab. Yeah, I've not read them yet. Again, this is the never-ending pile that I mentioned earlier. But yeah, I've got 2 volumes here of the letters between.
It's very interesting when you read the letters. I've got the Robert E. Howard letter collection. There's 3 volumes. I've got 2 of them. But
imagine this is a podcast. Bloody hell! Oh. Yeah.
But in that, when Howard first writes the Lovecraft, he's very he's writing to the master. He's someone he's really kind of impressed with. And then as you see, as they he's deferential, and as they progress in their correspondence, then and they're talking about various topics, various things about history. He suddenly goes, "Oh, well, hang on a minute," and it really begins. They really do have 20-page letter rebuttals. It's fantastic. It was a time when people could disagree with each other and not hate each other as well, which seems to be a time that we've lost. We don't. If you have a contrary opinion now, or an opinion which doesn't fit the mainstream narrative, you tend to end up in trouble.
No, you don't.
But it was a time when people could have very serious political, ideological, literary differences, and yet agree to disagree. and still remain friends. And it's a great example of a friendship that was never met. Physically they never met, but yeah, I think Dave's right. It was they were friends, and they were also sparring partners.
Yeah.
In fact,
I mean,
Howard makes that as one of the letters he's writing to Lovecraft about. He said, "Oh, you might have seen. I wrote this story called The Blackstone. It's in the current issue of Weird Trails, and when I read it now, I think I feel a bit absurd because it's such a me trying to be like writing like you, but not consciously. It's just that you're so influential." And he says, "You're going to be the most influential writer of weird fiction, not just in America, but of the world." And I'm not just saying that as hyperbole and I'm blowing smoke up your ass. He says it's just a fact. And then he says, and if we were even if we were having a duel and we came down from a fencing duel or whatever, I'd still say it then. It's like, and he was right.
yeah. Yeah, he was, yeah. Yeah, it's I mean it's amazing as well just how prolific they were and how young they were when both of them died, really. I mean, both of them died
Oh
at
yeah,
no age, you know.
I think
Yeah,
what
Howard was 30.
30, yeah. I
Fucking
mean, it's
he was a fucking kid.
and yet
You know, like
he was so prolific, and
yeah.
his arc of writing development was incredibly fast. When you see what he's writing in his 19 or 18, some
And
good stuff.
he's having more books come out by the day. You've got
Yeah,
romance, you've got boxing, westerns. It just goes. He wrote everything. You know, it's and Lovecraft. You've got more of a concise. You've got all these different collections, and some have got like one little bit missing, and then this one's got that little bit missing, or whatever. But it's like what Dave says in the culture. And guys, my viewers, I cannot recommend enough the Culture Dads podcast. The main bulk of it is behind a paywall, but it's worth every penny. Please check out the Culture
yeah.
Dads. And
Thank you.
we
I'm
did a
I'm a
fantastic
subscriber.
episode on
Hell yeah.
Lovecraft. Where
Every Thursday it's a joy, and it's one of those you just get into, and the topics. I think my favorite was I don't know. The pizza episode was one of my favorites, certainly. That was
yes,
fantastic.
yeah.
Thank you. I
That's
went
the
so
best
hard on
bit.
that episode.
The ones that because you obviously something you like. You're oh, right, this is going to be good. But the best ones are always the ones where you go, what? Fuck are they talking about? They're the ones. They're the
And
surprise. Yeah,
for,
pizza.
for your
Yeah,
for your, for your viewers who don't know, I mean, they go into the history of pizza and Queen Margarita, and it's just brilliant. The recipes and all the kind of intrigue about it. I learned a lot. And the other one I think, which is also one of my favorites, is the Sopranos episode.
yeah, yeah.
Because I'm just a huge Sopranos fan. So,
Well,
Oh,
thank you,
that's
guys.
another. I'm not going to go into the Sopranos. That'd be a podcast on its own.
that
But
absolutely.
shout out to Mike as well from Imperium Press. Yeah, we another great publisher. But yeah, Mike, I've yet to get on the channel. He responds to emails pretty quick, but getting him on here, he's a little harder to get hold of. But
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
yeah, but and mind you, it's hard enough tracking you down, Dave. He's in Australia. The time zone there is going to be bonbons. So, but yeah, if he's Mike, cheers, buddy. What was we talking about? The
Writers.
overlay between.
Howard and
Howard and
Lovecraft.
Lovecraft, yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously as well, there's
There
we
are
spoke
others,
about
yeah. I mean,
Arthur Mackin.
well, when I went to bed last night, I've got 3 books on the go next. I've got M.S. Jones's Times of War Part 1, which I've just I'm in about 4 chapters. That's excellent. It's published by the Bizarchives. Well, I've got 2 other books on the go. I've got Fritz Leiber, I think Swords of Death, which is volume 2 of the Fathard and Grey Mouser, and Clark Ashton Smith's, what's it called? It's a collection of his short stories. Now, I've not read, let's see, it's called Outer Space and Time. I've not read huge amounts of Clark Ashton Smith, but he's another one. If, when I picked it up last night, I thought I'll read these short stories of his. They're so good.
Oh my
He's such a
God,
good,
the Emperor of Dreams,
such a good
Clark
writer.
Ashton Smith. He was a genius. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and maybe as an intellectual giant, I mean the guy's Clark Ashton Smith's a very interesting guy. I mean, and there's others, Robert Bloch and um, who else, Dave? Who am I missing? There's loads of them. There's the whole circle, the Lovecraft circle,
Yeah,
and
you got August Derleth.
Derleth. Yeah,
Well, this is the thing as well with Dave and the Bizarchives. Whenever I listen to anything with Dave, I always leave with a shopping list. I always end up with a lot of books to buy or an obscure album or
Oh yeah,
Henry
you know
Kuttner,
your
another one.
stuff.
yeah. That's kind of. I always wanted to be the guy that can recommend cool stuff. That I don't want to be. I don't like. I don't want to get out here and like push too much stuff that like makes people's lives worse. I want to make people's lives more fun. You know what I mean? Yeah, I do my political commentary and I express myself politically and do those kinds of things. And as I get older, I want to do less and less of that. I'm it's just not fun to me. Um, we have enough. We're all aware of what's going on in the world. We don't need to hear more about it. What we need to hear more about is stuff that makes our lives more interesting. And I believe very deeply in the power of imagination and the beauty of imagination and the celebration of it because in our world today, imagination kind of gets cut from, especially little boys, gets cut from little boys
Yeah,
like it's a cancer. And
Mm.
one thing that drives me nuts is especially these dorky bow tie political jerk offs. They like to quote the C.S. Lewis thing about putting away childish things. Right, I became a man and put away childish things, but they never put in the next line of the quote, which is worrying about being so grown up and whether or not anybody thinks I'm childish. Right, imagination from the soil of imagination comes every great innovation, comes belief in heroes and hope and positive visions for the future, and all of this kind of stuff. Fiction is a powerful, beautiful thing. Jack Parsons invented the rocket because he read John Carter of Mars. The guy people invented the internet because they read Neuromancer.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
and Snow Crash and stories like this. Science fiction and fantasy have inspired people to do all of the best things and to kind of just abandon it and become these like cold, sterile, gray-brained utilitarians with hard hands and smooth brains is just not it's not a proper expression. I'm not saying that femininity can't be involved with art or anything even close to that. I'm just speaking as a man in my experience as a man. Um, to that is not what masculinity is about. Poetry is a warrior's art. Um, Imagination is part of the masculine expression to have visions of the world and to tell stories about the ancient past and about heroes and victories and stuff like this. So to cut imagination out of our lives has been and replace it with just cold mechanical utilitarianism is so monstrous and despicable and depraved. And my whole mission in life, my holy jihad, my crusade, is to bring imagination back to people and fun and enjoyment and weirdness and fear and horror and just all of the above to because there's so many people, and I have many dear friends. I have many dear friends that I grew up with and family members that when they were younger were very bright and imaginative and had great ideas and all this kind of stuff. Were musicians or performers or they had this in them. And I'm not at all beating on people that have jobs. I have a job. We all have jobs. But becoming a purely an economic unit that does nothing but go to work, come home,
Yeah.
and just do the basic functions and be told that this is what being a man is. Video games and movies and literature and poetry and music, that's all childish. That's for kids. Makes me want to puke. And to see these guys that who are once like with me creating and being creative and having fun and having vision and all this stuff, to see them become dim and gray in the eye as they age. And I'm not that old. I'm coming up on 40, but to see guys that are 35, 36, 37 years old and they're already like that, and you tell them about something exciting and they're like, oh, that's cool, and they just shrug. It's like watching the soul get sucked out of people that I care about, people that had that inspiration. To drain them of their inspiration is just monstrous to me. So I want to give it back to them if it's possible.
I'll tell you what, Dave, I say when I listen to you, I have a shopping list, but when I talk to you, I need a notepad. Poetry is a warrior's art. That was beautiful.
It's true. It's true. And this wasn't something that we let go not that long ago. You could find love poems of Civil War soldiers, from 1850 or whatever, 1860, whatever. They wrote love poems to their honeys back home, and these were beautiful. I was reading just like some 19-year-old kid or some 40-year-old guy that was on the battlefield wrote these gorgeous poems to their loved ones, their wife or their girlfriend back home. And you read it and you're like, oh my God, that was beautiful. I couldn't even imagine, a guy like a pipe fitter writing his wife a love poem these days. But I think that he should be able to do that, because that is a beauty is part of the masculine, and it's gross to me that it's not there anymore. So in our own little world, me and Mr. Webster and Arbogast and MS Jones and Mr. Cuthbertson, our whole crew, we have our jobs that we do during the day, and we have our lives and our kids and our families and everything. But our holy mission here is to bring that back, so that it's beauty and art and literature are not for some Fifth Avenue, New York art thing that costs $1,000 to get into. It's not for some frumpy cat lady with box frame glasses that is working in some university critical crit lit department somewhere. It's for all of us. All of us that you'll hear the call. All of us that, and this is what I say about weird fiction, is that I didn't find it found me. I remember still to this day, I'm in middle school. I'm getting too old for the Goosebumps books. And then I find Poe, I find Lovecraft, I find these authors, and I fell in love immediately. And from there, it became part of me. It's like being a guitar player. Even if it never goes anywhere, even if you don't become a big famous musician, playing guitar just becomes part of something that you do. It's just something that's part of you. And when you don't do it, you don't engage with it, it feels like something's missing from your life. And I think that's cool. And I also think that literature, as it's taught in public school, sucks. You guys have probably heard me go on my tirades about what we call the American classics are gay and boring. I hated reading To Kill a Mockingbird. I hated The Great Gatsby. I hated these books. I'm sorry for anybody that might. Hemingway was one of the most boring things I ever read. I was like, I want wizards and barbarians and dragons. I want freaking dark sorcerers. I want cosmic terrors with writhing tentacles that consume the earth. I want sexy ladies with big tits. I want blood and guts and gore and mayhem. I want all the cool shit that boys like. I don't want to read about fucking social justice or mice and men, miserable fucking guys, and the dude has to shoot his friend. Fuck that. That shit blows. Let's write something dope.
Exactly.
Imagine if they were giving Conan to schoolboys,
Exactly.
The thing is, I'll tell you what had happened. Chris, if they gave Conan to boys in English, they might actually take some fucking interest in English.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what the most tragic thing? We mentioned Dangerfield earlier. The most tragic thing they have done to people is made them think reading is boring.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't read. I can't concentrate. I have to read the same page over. Fuck that. They're making a film of it anyway, and I'll just watch that. You know, they've made the book, and that's the difference between George Orwell and Aldous Huxley. In George Orwell, they're banning the books, or in Fahrenheit, I can't remember the number, but you know what I mean. Fahrenheit, is it four? They're burning the books. In Aldous Huxley, no one bothers reading. They don't have to ban anything now. No one reads. But Dave, I wanted to. I've got two sons, and this is the battle I have. I've got two sons, and they're both not where they should be at school, and I'm trying to bring that out in them, the creativity. My eldest, he was drawing comics. You know, it doesn't matter. He's drawing. He's got the story in his head. He wants to be a film director when he grows up. I don't want that to be unrealistic for him. And we're in the best age now where you can buy your own. You know, the best rock bands that were, all here. None of them went to music school. They bought the instrument and learned it and played it themselves. And film directors are doing that now. People are making films with their phones. It's like you've just got to do it. Just jump in it and make stuff that's crap, but learn from the crap, and then you'll make stuff that's good. And I have it with the teachers all the time. It's just like you're not getting through to him. What you're teaching him is he's not paying attention in class because he's bored. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm making their imagination. I'm trying to get their imagination going. And I had it with my eldest and my youngest. I read to my youngest, but my eldest, we get a book, but I get 2 copies of it, and we both read it aloud. Like, you do a page, I do a page, so I know you're paying attention, And we did the whole of Conan with, that big thick. I got a couple of paperback editions, and and we was like, right, we're doing this. It took us about a year, but we did it. So my eldest has read all of Conan.
Hell yeah,
fantastic.
But yeah, that's a big thing, isn't it? Conan, you're getting your son. He finished it. How many books has your kid read?
Yeah.
We did the Hobbit. We've not done Lord of the Rings, but we've done the Hobbit.
The thing is, when you light that fire. I can remember as a teenager going around the market with my mother and my grandmother, and they would be doing their shopping, and I'd had my pocket money jingle in my pocket, and I'd go off to the secondhand bookseller, and I was buying Tarzan and Flash Gordon and Conan. It was fantastic. It was just like a fantastic introduction to another world, and I would devour them. And that was my reading was really kind of fired by those fantastic stories. It's just what we.
I think what people as well, like you say, Tarzan and Flash Golden, the books and or the stories that they came from. The films are just the tip of the iceberg. Everyone watches the films, and then that's it. No one realizes just how different Tarzan is to the films, or Flash Golden, or
the films are interpretations, and I think Edgar Rice Burroughs is one of the few writers who lived to see his creations being put into movies from that era. But he wasn't impressed with their interpretation of Tarzan because it was very different from the character that he'd created. Though I enjoyed the Johnny Weissmuller movies when I was a kid, but nevertheless, that change, that shift happens into film, and it loses something that isn't. I mean, I'm not saying because it's great films, but that it does lose something from that core structure and depth that you get in the stories, but also that individual space that you go into when you pick up a book and you go in there and you're in that world yourself. You're not in a room with lots of other people enjoying the same thing. You're in there alone, and there's something magical about that connection that happens.
It's shapes on a page that you're reading and you're hallucinating.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's. I don't know how much time either of you have got. Thank you so much for being on, both of you, and I'm taking up your time.
It's been great.
But
You want to do a quick review of Bizarchives 8,
let's do it. Yes.
or do you gotta get going?
No, no, no. I'm fine. But let's do. Yeah. So Bizarchives 8 is out. Is it this Friday?
Should I don't know about this Friday. We'll
This
see.
weekend. Keep an eye out. Amazon.co.uk, Amazon.com. Is it going to be on the available on Bizarchives?
On the website? No, just look it up on Amazon.
Amazon, right. Right.
Yeah.
Far away, Dave.
Okay, so Bizarchives 8 is we've been trying for years to get a copy out for Halloween because we're the spooky
Yeah.
guys,
You
and
spoke.
finally,
You say this in the introduction. That's right. Yeah.
yup, finally we got it. So we have a lineup here. It's a straight horror lineup. I'm just gonna give you guys a quick overview of the stories that are in there and who's in there, and then we'll wrap it up. So first is an introduction. It sets the theme for it. It's called Mr. Jack All in Black, and it's a short little immersive story, kind of like in the original Bizarchives, where
Nice.
you go to, it kind of sets the tone, and Mr. Jack is like this, it's like a Children of the Corn kind of vibe, right? So you go into the that and I don't want to spoil it, but it's called Mr. Jack All in Black, and that's an introduction piece. And then you have The Veil of Lares by Tristan Powers, and this story is a really interesting story. This Tristan usually writes pirate and adventure tales. This is his first published horror piece, and this story, man, this falls off the bone. This story is really a good one. It is about a painter in the Renaissance that starts working with this strange pigment, and things kind of get weird from there. The pigment itself has a strange quality to it. After that, you have Mr. Webster comes in with the girl at the seance.
Yeah.
I'll let Mr. Webster give you guys
Uh, David probably do it better than me. Yeah, it's the first. It's the in this book I was showing you before, the Confessions of an Occult Detective. It's the first story in that book. It will eventually be, or a version of it. But it's Vernon Smith is this cult detective character. It's his genesis story basically, how he has this girlfriend and it's the 1950s, a social clique, and then they end up going to this. She's a medium, and they have a séance, and it unfolds from there. But yeah, it leads on to other things as well. But I think it's a very short one. It's a very short one. I'll say no
yes,
more.
yeah, it's a banger. After that is my story, Bloom.
Bloom. Yeah.
Yeah, Bloom is
Oh,
it is probably the most disgusting thing I've ever written in my entire life. If this is my probably, I don't know if I'm going to be able to top this as far as body horror. This is really gross.
both of the stories the
I
two,
was going to
the
say you
two
did
stories,
two, didn't you? The Moons
yeah,
of
and both
Manchi.
both of them are creepy as hell.
Oh no.
Hell yeah, thanks. But yeah, they're the story of Bloom is this like douchey woke Seattle guy, that works for this sustainability consulting firm, goes to India on a sabbatical to be a douche, and he comes back, and some strange things begin to happen to him. Some strange things with his body, and it really gets worse from there. Like he undergoes a transformation that is pretty strange.
My
Uh,
son is getting right into his body horror at the moment. He's got a who's is it David? Who's got the video drone?
A Cronenberg.
Cronenberg.
Cronenberg. Yeah, yeah. He what's that one recently with Demi Moore? The substance or something. Yeah, but
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't think body horror myself, but body horror. Yeah, that's his thing. So Bloom, he's gonna like. Yeah,
Then you have Onira from A. Cuthbertson. Everybody knows him from the Count Coralor series and Cosmic Horror double feature. This is a speaking of Clark Ashton Smith. This has a little bit of that feel of a Clark Ashton Smith story, where it's about these about a dude that kind of goes into the dream realm, and there are potions that they drink that takes them into the dream realm, and weirdness happens. Right. So I don't want to give too much more. It's going to give it away, but it has a lot to do with dreams and weirdness like that.
Yeah, that really
Yeah.
that. In fact, um, every story that Dave's going to talk about in this collection stayed with me. That one particularly as well. That one really stayed with me. There's it's a collection of bangers, Dave.
Yeah, I think this might be our strongest lineup. I'm very, very proud of this lineup.
it gets
Uh,
better with every issue anyway.
Thank you. Yeah, that's for folks that might have read our first couple and maybe didn't love it or thought it was what we have come a long way. Not that there's anything wrong with our first books, or I'm very proud of what we our
Yeah, yeah.
catalog, but we've come a long way. We've really matured as writers and publishers. So don't be scared to jump in with issue 8. So the next one is an Arbogast, which I gotta give a shout out. Arbogast is the greatest pulp writer in the whole wide world. He is the hardest working man in show business. This guy, he appears in every single publication on the planet, like articles. He's a columnist. He writes so many. He's got so many books out. After he passes away, there's going to need to be like a whole team of people that track down all of his pseudonyms and all of his different works, and they're gonna be like, how the hell did one guy write all this? He's just prolific beyond imagining, and he's good too,
Yeah,
especially in the genres of mystery and noir and
he
stuff like
really
this.
is. He really
Yeah,
is.
he's I just got to give him his flowers. He doesn't really get shout out enough, but he's the man. So Arbogast writes, he's got the thinning of Mr. Warren, and this is
It's so
sort of
weird. It's such a
oh,
weird story.
it's so weird. The only thing that I can sort of attribute it to is something maybe like Reanimator, Herbert West Reanimator, sort of, but it's not like that. It's completely different. It's really bizarre. You just have to read it.
I have to
Uh,
be really careful because I keep thinking, oh yeah, this happens and this happened. I can't give spoilers away.
next up, we got our boy Frostkaz, who comes back with it's called the Children of Polaris, and this is like Rats in the Walls
Yeah,
told in a modern context for guys that are fans of archaeogenetics. It is so out there, and this is really a great story. He wrote this the night before deadline and sent it to me. So
wow.
really, really good story. If you're like me and you're an enjoyer of monkeys, you're going to like it. Then we have Mr. Jones comes in with the Shadow Sisters Silence, and this is part of another one of his. I forget what it's called. He's another one with an enormous catalog, and all these different settings and places. But this is part of one of his like cycles of stories, and it is told in a really interesting way. It's a very haunting framing. There's a lot of alliteration and beauty to it. It's really a unique piece. You guys are going to like that quite a bit. Next one is another Arbogast tale, which ends with some of the most clever dialogue. I absolutely loved it, but it is a halfway between a mob story and a freaking I can't really tell you too much, but it's a mob story about a mobster that wanders into something that is I don't know how I'm going to describe it without giving it away, but it goes in a direction you're not expecting. Really a good story. Um, And then there's another one from me called the Moons of Nanchi, which is a sci-fi horror about a crew of dudes in the far future that go to a what they believe to be a planet or a moon to rescue a crew that had put out a rescue beacon, and things go wrong, and the moon is not what it appears to be.
This is a horrible one. This is a horrible one.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It's pretty weird. It's actually based. I had a nightmare one time that
I
this
was going to ask you what was the yeah.
it's really a strange story. So I hope folks like that. And then we end on the return of my actually my real life kinsman, my buddy Shane Hawks, with a dark fantasy story called Of Birch and Briar. And this is
Love this one. Yeah.
yeah, this is like a mythic sort of I don't even know how to describe. It's a mythic sort of gothic. It sort of is reminiscent of a Solomon Kane story, but with completely different metaphysics to it. It's a fantasy piece. It's not in America. It's or Europe. It's its own place, and it's a witch hunter story with body horror and freaking Lovecraftian elements. Really, really a great story. Great story. So that is the lineup of the Bizarchives 8. It is all horror, but it's everything from all different settings, all different time periods, all different genres, from imaginative to haunting ghost stories to body horror, cannibalism, freaking blood and guts and gore, to just everything you can imagine under the sun for the
Cosmic as well.
What's that?
Cosmic horror.
Oh my god! Of course,
Yeah.
There's cosmic horror. Everything you can imagine under the genre of horror is in this lineup. So, this is our Halloween our Halloween lineup. I think maybe our next issue we should get into some more sci-fi and fantasy, just to like give a little bit of palate cleanser. You guys that are gonna read this, this is some of the spookiest, freakiest stuff on the market. So I think that the Bizarrbarians, the Bizarre Kangs out there are going to enjoy this lineup here.
Can I show the artwork off?
Yep, yes you can.
Yep. There you go. Oh no, that looks no good. Sorry. I've got the thing on my phone here, but it's just it's cool. You got a family and they've all got pumpkin heads and it looks awesome.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, the Bizarchives Volume 8, go find it on Amazon, be it .com or .co.uk. And yeah, guys, thank you so much. I think this is one of the best shows I've done. So thank you for watching this. And yeah, CP Webster, go check out The Horror Beneath, Weird Trails, Lovecraft's Cat. And if you're feeling adventurous, yeah, the Albion trilogy. And of course, check out Bizarchives Volume 8 coming out any day now. But go get yourselves your back issues.
This as well.
With the Bizarchives. And of course,
hell yeah,
Grim Earth Shall Burn. And yeah, both of you. This isn't the well, I hope it's not the last time you're going to be on the show. And I hope you both come back on for various reasons. Maybe come back on and do a retrospective for the band Dave you did Nevermore with me. Come back and do another band. And Chris, yeah, I'd love for you to do the same. So yeah, thank you for coming on. And this has been great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, our pleasure. Thank you again, Mr. J. Everybody subscribe to Nightmare Cabin.
That's right. It's the Necronomicon is in the corner. The demons are outside, but I'm in here blasting metal. They can't get in unless I invite them. This is where I'm doing. So, yeah. Right. Thanks a lot, everyone. And we'll see you all soon. Read books. Go buy books. Imagination is the key. Yeah. Read the classics. And we'll see you all soon.
Good night, folks.